A very good morning to all of you again. We welcome you again to the second day of the workshop. I hope all of you are geared up and are excited for the workshop. If you're excited for the workshop, type excited in the comment box. Let's see how many of you are excited for this workshop today. All right. Okay. Good. Some more responses. Let us see if we get some more responses. Type excited in the comment box. Are you all excited for this workshop? Yes. All right. Very nice. Okay. So yesterday was day one. Today it's day two. Today we have with us Sir Shayan Mandal. He's also a faculty of the Art Training Unit at Vivekananda Cultural Center. We welcome you, sir, and a very good morning to you.
Good morning to everyone.
All right, we are very excited to have you. But before we start, there are few good news again. Like I promised yesterday that there will be some good news, but that will be revealed towards the end of the session. So I request all of you to please stay back. And the most important news is that the person whose artwork has been chosen will be featured in our magazine, that is Kajing Shai the Light. So stay back till the end to know who made it till the end, who will be featured in the magazine. All of your artwork was outstanding. It was very difficult for us to choose from the best because all the artwork was the best, but they say somebody has to make it to the top, so we have chosen few of them. But the ones who have submitted, don't worry, your artwork will not be wasted. We will be displaying them in some other functions of ours. We do have an art exhibition, we do have an art workshop from time to time. So we will make sure that all your artwork will be displayed, none will be wasted. And we thank all of you for sharing your artwork with us. And we hope that we will stay in touch through the WhatsApp group, and whatever queries you have, whatever things you want to know from us, you can always WhatsApp us or email us. All right, so I request all of you to post your questions for the session today in the comment box, and then hope you all have a wonderful session. I now hand over the session to Sir Shayan, and I hope that you all have a wonderful session. Over to you, Shayan, sir.
Okay, so very good morning to everyone who has joined us today. So I've seen yesterday that you all enjoyed a lot. So yesterday you have learned a lot of things, right from your stripling word to how you use your pencils and also calligraphy, right? So today we'll be teaching you or giving you just a gist of how we do watercolors, okay? Various brush types, the different techniques of watercolor. So there are a few techniques that we can use, and also I'll be giving you whatever questions, I'll be answering whatever questions you have accordingly, and also showing you a few of my works from many years ago, which will show you the different techniques that I'll be showing you now. Okay, so let us begin. So firstly, I think so yesterday you have seen, so these are the various pencils, okay? So out of this, there are different grades, right? I think so you have seen yesterday, you have, it starts with your HB, where is it? So it starts with your HB pencil. So what does HB do? It is basically, HB stands for hard and black. So as we go towards the higher grades of pencil, the hardness decreases and the blackness increases. So the very next number to HB is your 2B. Okay, so like this, we have various grades. So in watercolor, what we need is HB. We don't use the high graded pencils because they have more of graphite. Okay, so if there is more graphite, what happens if you draw a drawing? The watercolors won't get applied on top of the graphite. So what we do, we use the basic one, which is the HB. So again, it is most of you have the HB pencils right at home. So you use it for writing. So the same HB pencil is used for drawing. So let us draw a simple, say, let us say apple. Okay. So you can see here. So I'm using the HB. So you can see I've drawn two curved lines and I'll be joining them here, and also I'll just give a small stop here and joining them here, right? So you can see the drawing is very light, right? It's almost invisible kind of way. Why? Because, so can everyone see this? Okay. So you can see the outline, I've drawn it very lightly, right? So why? Because in watercolors, if the outline is too dark, the colors will not get adhered to the paper on top of the graphite. So what we do, we take the HB pencil and draw it very lightly. So next, what we do, so the first things now, let me tell you about the brushes. So there are different type of brushes. So you can see there are round brushes like this. So these are round brushes, and you also get flat brushes. So these are flat brushes. Again, I won't be using this brand, not this brand, this brushes actually. So why? Because these brushes are mostly used for oil colors and acrylic painting. For watercolors, we mostly try synthetic brushes of round types, and we have mob brushes. So you can see mob brushes. So what are the two difference between the two? The synthetic brushes, so these are synthetic brushes, so they hold less water. So when we are doing a technique, there's a technique called wet on wet and wash techniques in watercolor. So when we are doing those, what we require more water holding capacity in the brushes. So what we require is mob brushes like this. So these are why are they called mob brushes? Because they can hold lots of amounts of water, and these are actually natural hairs. So mostly made of your mongoose hairs or some bird hairs. So that's why these are known as mob brushes. So let us start now. So I'm taking the mob brush. So again, in watercolors, you require a few items. So firstly, you'll require a container which holds water. You'll require a palette which holds where you can mix the colors, and you'll require the colors. Okay, so now in here today, because it's a basic beginner class, so I'm using the normal beginner colors. It's by Camel. So again, there are various different types of colors as well. So you can use the artist grade colors as well, which are again available from Camel and other companies. So again, it depends on how you use it, and also on the brand, the costing will differ. Like if there's a brand called Snelia, if you use that, the per, like for example, see, one tube of like this is a tube, right? One tube of a Snelia will cost you 1,000 rupees. So if you have the budget, you can use those. Yeah, obviously the pigments, they vary. The more the price of the pigment, the better, the brighter is the pigment. So in here, but what is more important, you can say, is the way of artist draws, right? So if you have the skill, or if you develop the skill, whatever color you use, you'll get the same results. Okay, so let us start. So I'm using the mob brush. So dip it nicely into the water. Then, so I'm firstly showing you the wet on wet technique. Okay, so I'll take the water, I'll wet the paper. Okay, so you can see I've applied the water onto the page. And what I'm doing, I'm just applying water onto the area where the drawing is made. Okay, not outside of the outline. So once this is done, then now we'll take the color. So firstly, I'll take a bit of yellow. So you can see I've taken a bit of yellow, right? So now using the same mob brush, I'm taking the color, I'm mixing it with water again. Then I'll start from the top, okay? And you just let the color spread from the top to the bottom. So this is the wet on wet technique. So which is what does it mean actually? So firstly, Why wet on wet? Because I'm applying water and wetting the paper before applying the color. Again, the color is also mixed with water. So this technique is known as wet on wet. So you can see I have a bit of water here. And why didn't I apply water outside? Because if I apply water outside of the outline, the color will spread there. And also again, I'm using two types of paper here today. I'll be showing you. The first one, this is known as the handmade paper. And the second one is ivory sheets, okay, which is easily available in the market. Again, there are other various different types of your papers as well, but I won't be using those because watercolor, those are of higher GSM and again quite costly. So and it's not always available in the market. Okay. So once we are done with the first layer, which is the yellow, now we'll apply the next layer. So I'm taking the magenta color. Oh, sorry, it's the crimson. So now, what is the next step? So I wash my brush, get rid of the excess water. Then, this time I will take less water and more of the color. So you can see I'm taking less water, more color, mixing it properly. Then I'm applying it in the same way, from the top towards the bottom. So you might think it's too light because it's just the second layer. Slowly we'll be building layer upon layer. Okay. So I'll take more color. So again, mix it properly. So again, you have to see that your flow is nice. So when you start with the brush, then you let the brush glide. Don't put too much pressure on the brush. Okay, just apply and let it go towards the bottom like this. See. Okay, so this is second layer is done. So we'll just let it dry for a few minutes. So say 1 or 2 minutes. Until then, I'll prepare the next batch of colors. So this time I won't be adding any water in here. So because the more color we want, the less water we apply.
Okay, Shayan, we have one question from Bhakti Kumbhar. How to take care of brush?
A brush, you have to, after every drawing session, you need to wash them properly. So in watercolor, it's not a big problem because it's a water-based colors, so they get off easily. You just take a bit of soap water. Once first you wash your brushes after coloring in a plain water first, then you just dip them in a liquid solution of soap water. If you have dishwasher also, that works. Then you wash it again properly in flowing water, tap water, and that is enough. For watercolors, that is enough. But if you have oil colors, you need to wash them properly. First with turpentine oil, then using soap water, and then let them dry. Again, while drying, you don't keep the brushes like this. Say you have a container like this, say a glass. Don't ever keep your brushes inside. Always keep your brushes outside, so that they can dry easily. I hope I've answered your question.
Yes, we have one more question from Siddhartha Das. For wet and wet technique, which one is preferable, cold pressed or hard pressed? I think the hands.
Cold pressed are better because what happens, they have mostly what I've seen. I haven't used them much, but I've seen many reviews that the cold pressed papers, they tend to absorb the water quite well. So what happens, your color adheres to the paper pretty nicely.
All right, thank you.
Okay, welcome. So see, you can see this time I'm using more color and less water. So now I'll start again from the top. So you can see the color darkens. Why? Because the concentration of color is more this time. So watercolor is all about building layer upon layer. So you can see as I'm going downwards, I'm using less and getting flow like this. Okay. So I'm washing the brush. So let us use a different brush now. So for detailing, what is better? For detailing, your synthetic brush are better. So I'll be using this ones. These are known as the Faber-Castell ones. So Faber-Castell ones. These are quite good for detailing work. Again, it also depends on what number you're using. So see, there are lots of numbers. So you can see. So for detailing, we don't use the thicker brushes. We mostly use the smaller brushes with the lesser numbers. Like for example, you have 0, 1, 2, 3, and maximum we can use a 4. Okay, so now again I'll be using a bit of red. So I'm using a synthetic brush now. So you can see. So I'll only use the colors towards the top hand side now, and I'm using slight strokes like this. Why? Because I want to make this areas darker than the areas lower. So we'll just let it dry for a few seconds, a minute maybe. Then we'll apply the next color.
In the meantime, Shine, there's another question. How much GSM sheet is preferable for watercolor painting?
Mostly see, like I'm using today, the handmade paper is quite good for watercolor, especially your this wet on wet technique, because it absorbs and helps the color bleed. So similarly, you can use watercolor papers are there available in Amazon and Flipkart. So those have your GSM probably 250 to 300 GSMs. So those are quite good for watercolors. So and those are cold pressed. So watercolor is mostly done in cold pressed papers. But again, it's like what to say. It's based on the artist. So what he prefers. So like sometimes I may prefer one paper. Another artist may not get the same feeling with that paper. He may like a different paper. So it is basically up to you what paper you like. So like for example, you may also have like this normal sketch books, right? By ITC and other different companies. You can use those as well. Again, what is the only difference? So this has more grains. So you can see, if I can show you. So if I can show you, this has more grains. Can you see? So in a ITC paper, you won't get the same grains. So if you don't get the same grains, you and what happens in this one, it helps it bloat and the spread easier on the handmade paper. Similar things happen in the your watercolor paper. But if you take a normal, say for example, if I take this ivory sheet, if I have this ivory sheet, this is a very smooth paper. So the same spreading or the bloating of the colors will not happen on the ivory sheet as that will happen on the handmade paper. Okay.
Uh,
So
just one more question from Shruti. Which canvas cloth is best for oil and acrylic painting?
canvas, see, again, canvas depends on the this price also. So normally what I use is the Camel, uh, and also there are the finest quality ones are the Belgium this canvas, but those are again quite costly. So if you have the money, then you can go for the Belgian canvas or Belgian linens, also known as Belgian linens. So those are quite the costliest and the most this foreign artists, like preferably they use the Belgian linens. So those are like very costly actually.
All right.
So, but for
Okay,
Indian
so
purposes, you can use the normal Camlin one, the one available by Camel. So those are quite good.
okay, Shruti and Siddhartha, I hope your questions are answered. So we will continue with the workshop.
Okay. So next, what we do, it is a bit dry. So I'll take another color. So I'll be taking the red again, the crimson that is. So along with the crimson, I'll be adding a slight bit of brown. So I'll be taking the brown in a different compartment. So you can see I've taken the brown and the crimson. Now I'll take a smaller brush. Okay. So we're taking the crimson and we're mixing a slight amount of the brown with it. And also you can see I haven't applied any water here. I'm just mixing the two colors together. So now what we do, with this, we can use this for detailing purposes. So just remove the excess color and you can start detailing. So we want to make the top portion darker. So we'll apply more color there. So you can see I'm giving it a border as well using the thin brush. So like I said, the good thing about the synthetic brush is it's very good for detailing. Your mop brush is good for larger areas, but your thinner synthetic brushes are very good for smaller areas and for detailing. So I'll just use a bit more crimson. I'll use a tad bit of water. And you can use strokes like this. So just like I've said before, don't apply pressure, just let the brush flow. So again, when you're doing detailing work, remember, it's always done with the tip. So you keep your hand on the paper firm and then you move your brush. So we'll just let it dry for a bit. In the meanwhile, wash your brush. Then we'll just go for the stop. So we'll just let it dry for a few minutes. Until then, let me mix the next color. So next I've taken brown. So I'll just apply it here so that you can see. And I'll take a small amount of black, just a tinge. Okay. So we take the color. Before that, we slightly wet the page and just the area of the stop. So since it's a small area, I'm using the synthetic brush. Just take a bit more brown. So then you take the color, and this time we want the color to be a bit darker, so use less water. And have to use a bit more color. So we wash the brush. Now we'll slightly apply a bit of black mixed with the brown. So we get a sort of dark brown. Again, one important tip is that don't use black directly while using watercolors. We always use a mixture of dark blue mixed with black or brown mixed with black when we want to show a darker area. We never apply black directly, especially in watercolors. So that's why you can see I've mixed here a bit of black with the brown to darken the color. So I'm taking a very fine brush and applying the color just on one side. I'll just give a small outline like this. Now, with this black, we apply a bit of crimson. So you can see I've just taken a bit of crimson, mixed it with the brown and the black to get a very dark red, almost maroonish red. So we take this and we use it for detailing. So you can see I'm using small strokes with the brush. Just like the same way you're using a pencil. So you're holding it quite behind. You take the color and we angle it and then use strokes. So a little bit towards the back of the apple as well. and then we let it dry. So we have completed the apple. So this is one way of doing watercolor, the first step. So this technique is known as the wet on wet. So what is this technique? Basically, we first wet the paper using plain water, then we apply colors layer by layer, forming the object. Okay. So are there any questions or queries? Okay, so next we'll move to the I'll show you how to do your wet on dry. Okay, so for this I'm using an ivory sheet. So what is basically the wet on dry? So you're taking wet colors and applying it to dry page or dry paper. Okay, so this technique is mostly used for very fine detailing work, where you need to detail very finely without it getting spread. Okay, so let me take the ivory sheet. So let us draw something first. So say we like yesterday, I think so you have seen Samintu had drawn a ball, right? So let us draw the same ball. So I don't exactly know the technique he used for drawing the ball or drawing a circle. So I'll be just using the freehand technique, okay? I hope it's round. So you can see I'm drawing it very lightly. So I hope it's round. Right, good work. Okay, now this page is dry. So we will not wet the page. We'll directly apply the wet color onto the page. So that's why this is known as wet on dry technique. Okay. So let me take a different color. So I'm using cobalt blue. So this is the cobalt blue. So I'm taking the mop brush again. So this is the mop brush. So I take the blue. So whatever water I require, I apply it to the color and mix them properly. Okay. Then, like yesterday, so if we imagine that the light source is coming from this side, so the darker areas will be on this side and the lighter areas will be on this side, right? So we take the color, add a bit of water, and I'm applying the color directly onto the page. So you can see, again, you can see the color moves along with the water. So this is the good thing about the mop brush. It holds lots of water and color. The synthetic brushes don't hold same amount of water. Okay. So again, the paper also matters. Since this is an ivory sheet, it will absorb the water much less than what a handmade paper will absorb. Okay. So we have done the first layer. Now we need to darken this side, right? So next, when I use the color again, I'll use less amounts of water. Okay. So like I want to darken this side. So see, I'm using less water, more color. So, and when you want a medium color, so what we do, we just spread it using the brush. So as you go from the left towards the right, the concentration of color decreases by itself. But one thing you must remember is that you need to let the brush flow. If the brush does not flow, the color will get accumulated in one area, which we don't want that. Okay? So I'm removing the excess color. Then you just take the bit of color. So what I'm doing, I'm basically decreasing the concentration of the color. So wherever you want to lighten it, you can apply a bit of water and spread the color. Okay, something like this. So we'll just let it dry for a few minutes. So one thing you remember, you can use a tissue paper to wipe off the excess water from your brushes after you wash them. So just like yesterday, if you want a shadow here, what we'll do, we will not use the black color directly. So what we can do, we can just take a bit more of cobalt and add a bit of black there. So we get a very dark shade of the, or dark tint of the blue, cobalt blue. And for the shadow, just like yesterday, so you start from here and you spread. So something like this. Again, like I've told you, it's a mop brush, so it's not used for detailing. So for detailing, what we can use is synthetic brushes, which are finer in nature. So I'm using that. So we'll now detail the ball or circle, whatever. So for detailing, what we can do, so I'm using the color directly here. You just spread a small amount. You mix it properly, apply water. Then you start detailing. So I want to make this side darker. So I'm taking a concentrated amount of color and going on like this. So another thing, wherever you think, when you're applying the color, when you think your brush is not working, you just take a small amount of water, mix a bit of color, and then apply again. That will help you keep the flow. So just like yesterday, I think so Mintu has told you. So this side is the highlight, right? The main highlight. There's also a small amount of highlight on the back side. So what we do, we just take a bit of water, lighten the color, then apply it towards the back side. But not overpowering the main dark area. We just take a bit more water and spread this. So you just spread the color in this area a bit. It should not look too dark, just slightly. So then you can just take a bit of color and go around the edges like this, but not towards the top, because that is the area where the main light falls. Okay, so this is the wet on dry technique. So we are using wet colors on dry paper. Okay, so is there any questions?
Very sure what he meant by applying water, paper tearing. I think he means that when he applies water, the paper tears off. So, is there any alternative way of using the wet wash technique
No, what happens
to
actually is,
reduce paper tearing?
okay, so paper will tear. If you see, if I take the brush, okay, if I apply the same water on the same area 2-3 times, what happens? The paper is absorbing the water, right? So, and plus you're applying pressure from the brush. So that's why the paper tends to tear. So what the beauty and also a disadvantage of watercolor is that you have to work fast. If once a color dries, what happens? The paper is already has absorbed some water, right? You're applying the next layer. If you add too much water in the next layer, what happens? The paper tends to get soggy. Okay, and then that time if you apply the brush like this, if you keep working with the brush, the paper starts to tear. So you try to apply the first layer with a lots of water, and as gradually when you use the second, third, or fourth layer, you reduce the amount of water and you reduce the amounts of also the brush work. You just apply more this color and less pressure also on the brush. Less strokes, try to cover more area with less strokes. So that will help you from keeping away from paper tears.
All right. Okay, we can continue.
Okay. So next, let me again go back to the handmade sheet. So let me show you color mixing, right? Okay. So let me show you color mixing. So let me take a synthetic brush now. So let us take the yellow color. It's already here. So you can see I'll slightly just wet the paper in the form of a square area, the rectangle area you can see. Then I'm taking the first color place it, and then just spread the color. Now, if you want to mix a color, for example, say green, so what we'll do, we'll take the color, so we start from here, okay? Then we go that side. So what we can see, they mix very nicely. And then you work with the brush, okay? Now, if you want to build layer upon layer of color, what you can do, you can slowly start with, say, again, I'm wetting the paper. Say I want to start with green only. So I'll start with a very basic transparent layer. Then for the next layer, I'll just take a bit more color and spread it. And more color. So as you build the color, layers of colors, the color will darken. So in here you can see it starts from here. It's very light, right? From light, it goes to a darker shade. So that is this is known as the layering technique. Okay, so you build upon one layer upon the other. Okay, so now I'll show you a small scenery. So for that, let us say it just has a say a basic house. Okay, so let me just take the HB pencil. Just draw a basic say outline like this. Very simple. Right. It will have a window, door maybe. Say a few.
So just one question before you start.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you kindly name the brand of the handmade paper that you are using?
This is the local brand, ma'am. If you go to any stationery shop, you'll get it available. It's available for maybe 20 rupees or 25 rupees. So it's quite cheap actually. So since for budding artists, anyone who wants to become an artist, you need to practice, right? So if you go buy to like foreign materials, so if you destroy one page, it's gone. It's a lot of money, right? So it's better you go for local made stuff. So what happens? It helps you build up that practice routine. I think so. That answers the question.
All right, thank you.
So we just drew a house in here, a few bushes. So let us just see how to color this. So firstly, we'll take the mop brush. So always remember one thing, when you do watercolor, you need to start from the sky. Okay, so I'm using the mop brush to wet the paper. So this will be the wet on wet technique. So once we have wet the paper, Then we will apply the cobalt blue. I'm using the mop brush still because it holds more water and more color. And for large areas, this is preferable. Okay, so we start from here, say. So you start from the top left corner and then you just spread the color like this. See. So mop brush are very useful for drawing clouds. So we'll just slightly let it dry. Until then, I'll take the next color. So I'm taking the cobalt blue again. This time I will be using more color and less water. So now, again, if you want to show clouds, you just start like this and you just glide your brush where you want to draw the clouds. Okay. So you wipe off the excess water and then you try spreading the color a bit in the areas you want to. So you can see in here, see the color spreads very easily. So that's why handmade paper is preferred over for watercolors. So we'll just let it dry for 1 minute. So you can see the clouds are here, right? So we'll just let it dry. Then we'll go for the house. Now, why we need to let it dry? Because see, if I now apply color here by first applying wetting the paper, that color will also get spread onto the sky. Okay. But if that is the desired effect you want to bring, then you should apply like after one layer, you apply the next layer immediately. But if you don't want, then you just let the first layer dry for a few minutes. So since we are a bit short on time, so let me just start doing it. We can't wait for too long. So actually, you can use this tip actually. So I've seen one of the artists on YouTube do one thing. He has your hair dryer. So what he does, he takes the hair dryer and he applies the hair dryer onto the paper. It helps dry the water faster. So you can use that technique also if you're in a bit of hurry. Unfortunately, I don't have a hair dryer now. Otherwise, I would have used it. So let me do the next layer. So which is the grass. or actually the bushes actually. So again, I've applied water to the paper. Now I'm taking yellow color first, and I'll apply a light transparent layer of this yellow. So now to mix color fast, we'll take the green again. So see, now if I apply the green, it spreads very easily. So, and I'm also using more color, less water. So you just take the brush and give it the desired effect by just dragging. See, and it's very easy to guide when it is wet. The color, you can guide the colors easily using the brush. So two layers are done. So now we want to show one more area where it needs to be a bit darker, right? So I'll be taking dark green now. So I've taken the dark green. Now the dark green I'll apply towards the bottom areas. So something like this, and it will spread because there is already water here, so it will spread easily. So you can see here what I was trying to say. The dark green is spreading towards the sky, right? Because there was water in here. Okay. So if you let the paper dry a bit after you've done the sky, then this will not happen. So next, let us go for the ground. So I'm taking plain water. And just don't go too much towards the edge, otherwise it will spread. Okay. So what you can also do is use a flat brush like this. Okay. So I'll be using yellow ochre. So see, I've applied the yellow ochre. And because there is lots of water here, I'll, with the help of the water only, I'll make it spread. Next, I'll be taking a bit of brown and without adding much water, I'll take the color and directly apply it to the areas I want to darken. Okay. So you can see, since the paper is wet, the colors they mix very well with each other. So we just let it dry for a few minutes. Oh, okay. So next we'll go for the hut. So firstly, go for the roof. So again, under the paper, I'll take a bit of yellow, very transparent, and apply it like this. Very loosely, I'm applying. Okay. Then right after the yellow, I'll be taking the brown and apply from the left hand side, because I'm imagining that the light source is coming from this side, the top right hand corner. So the darker areas will be towards the bottom left hand corner. So for the lower portion of the hut, again, when you spread the water, don't go too near to the roof. Otherwise, that color will get spread to the bottom portion. So this time I'll be taking brown directly. Then using the water, you spread it. Okay. So now you just wait for 1 minute. Then we'll go and we'll start detailing the landscape. So now, see, this is the basic colors I have been put in. Now, what we'll do, we'll detail. For detailing, we'll use darker colors. Okay. So we'll take a bit of black. Again, like I've said before, you don't apply the black directly. You mix it with the color to get a darker tint of the color that we have already used. So for example, if I take like I've already used dark green, right? So to make a darker version of dark green, I'll just add a bit of black. So here I've made a darker tint of black mixed with dark green. So, and I'll use that for detailing purposes. So you can say I've started from here, left hand side, and I'm using a small finer brush, a bit more water. So if you think the color is too dark, you can just take a bit of water and spread it. Okay?
Shayan, there is another question.
Yes, ma'am.
What is the significance of keeping white patches in between the brushes?
That's just like an aesthetic way of doing watercolor. See, like there are you can say like the paper is not exactly flat, right? So there are dents and areas where there are depressions. So what happens? The color does not stick to those areas very well, even after you wet the paper. So those white spaces, they bring out a bit of highlight also, in a way you can say. Like watercolor is basically, see, it's a very fast color. It needs to be very fluid and transparent mostly. So in when and what we are doing is the also known as the transparent method. Okay, so in transparent methods we cannot wait for like to see the color and apply white color to give highlights. Okay, so what we do instead, we keep white patches of this page. Obviously the page is white, right? So that acts as a highlight. uh, I think so I've answered your question. Or is there any still doubt, further doubt?
He
Okay,
further
so
wants to say that what is the significance of keeping the white patches in between the bushes?
that's what I've said. Like those act as the highlight. Okay, you see, whenever a light falls on something, right? So there's a very fine highlight there, which is almost white in color. Okay, so which is almost white in color. So in while doing watercolor transparency method, this is also known as the watercolor transparency method. You cannot use white color. Okay, so the two rules in most this transparency method is: firstly, we don't use black directly. Secondly, we do not use the white color at all. Okay, so if you want to use the white color in watercolors, you have to go for the opaque method. Okay, so this is the transparency method. In transparency method, we don't use the white color. So what we do to get a few highlights, for example, like areas like this in the bushes. Okay, so we leave white spaces. So that can be again using the colors like green and all. We can just darken a few areas to show that those areas that we have left behind act as highlight. Okay. Okay. So let me continue. Like for example, see this area I've left behind, right? So this will act as the highlight for one bush, then the next layer of bushes. Okay. So let us go for the house now. So for this, I'll be using your yellow ochre and brown mixed together. So you can see this is the yellow ochre and the brown. So we mix them together. And we slightly add a bit of black. Again, this is too much black, so let me just add a bit of brown. So we're starting to detail the roof now. So you can see I'm starting from the left hand side. So you take a bit of water and spread the colors wherever you want to lighten it. Okay. So we'll go towards the bottom as well. So see, the area under the roof will be slightly darker because there will be shadow. So you take a bit of color and then spread it like this. So next I've added a bit more black, and now I will just draw the areas where there needs to be more shadow. Like example here. Sorry, my hand is smudging the floor portion. It's still wet. So what we can do is color the inside of the doors now. So we're done with the house. I'm not adding too much detail. So if you give proper time and more time, actually, you can even detail it further. Okay, but I'm not giving it too much time here. So let's just detail a bit of the ground. So for this, I'll be taking dark green again to show some your grass. So before that, I'll be taking a bit of light green. So with the light green, I'm just applying it to few areas to show some grassy areas. Okay. So you can apply here and just spread it a bit. So next we take the dark green just like before and we detail it like this. So you can use the thin brushes to show some grassy areas. So with that, we have completed the landscape. So I hope you're able to see it nicely. So see, the more time you give to a painting, the better and more details you can give in it. Okay. So in here, since see we didn't get much time, so we just did somehow, but I think so it still looks good, right? So for it's already time for us to wrap up now. So if you have any further questions, so you can ask me now.
Okay, Shine, thank you so much. That was a wonderful session, and I hope all of you enjoyed and all your questions are being answered. So moving on, is there any question? Let me just check. No, we answered all the questions. And now coming to the another session, that is the good news session that I shared with all of you. So now let me just tell you and reveal the good news. All right, so most of you were asking all of us, how do I get a certificate? Yes, all of the attendees who attended the workshop will be getting a certificate. We will be providing an e-certificate to all of you, but yes, there is a but. Provided you fill up a feedback form, we will be sharing the same through the WhatsApp group that we have created. Unless and until you share us the feedback, we will not be able to generate your certificate. So I request all of you to kindly fill in the feedback form, then only you will be getting your certificates. And so now the good news. The good news is, like I told you yesterday, one is that you will be getting a chance to be featured in our e-magazine, that is Cutting Shine the Light. And the second one is that we have been running a art training department at Vivekananda Cultural Center, where we have been offering both online and offline courses. So we have a good news for all the attendees, that is, you get a 50% off on our 2 months crash course on art. All right, the actual fee is 1200, but for you attendees who have attended both our workshops yesterday and today, keeping in mind that today it's a Sunday and all of you have given your time for this, so we are also making it up for that, and we are giving you a 50% flat off on our course. That is, you will be getting a 2-month course where you will get access to learn crayons, pencil sketch, watercolor, oil pastels, and acrylic paints. You will be getting to learn all these in this 2 month, where you will have recorded sessions and a live class. A live class will be given to all of you, where you will be able to interact with our faculty members, where you'll be able to clear your doubts, all right? And that way we will be able to learn and share your work. And also you will be getting a certificate at the completion of the course, all right? So like I said that you will be able, your best artwork will be published in our e-magazine. You can see that here we have a trilingual e-zine, that is Kajing Shai. It is a magazine of 3 languages, that is English, Hindi, and the local language of Meghalaya, that is Khasi. So you get a chance to be featured in this beautiful, beautiful magazine, that is a trilingual e-zine. So now let me share your artwork. Shine, are you there with me?
Yes, ma'am, I'm still there with you.
All right, so now we will have a look at all the paintings. So I will also require your feedback for this. All right, Shine?
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, let's make it interesting. I will, the moment I share the painting, you give me one word for it. All right? Are you ready, Shine?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So this is the first painting, the best selected paintings. We have T.R. Rajesh.
Oh, that is excellent.
All right. So this is one of the beautiful one. All right. Moving on, we have Soravi Mukherjee.
Wow, that is amazing.
Yes, it is some kind of piecework, right? Incredible piecework.
I think so. She has used soft pastels, right?
Looks like, yes. All right. Moving on to Ashish Chaudhary.
Wow, that is beautiful. Expressions are
Yes,
very nice.
it is. All right. Next, we have God of Paul.
This is beautiful too.
Then we have Srinivas Sapurav.
That is also nice. It's a different form of art, I think so. Not the
Yes.
usual one.
All right. Next, we have Nishal Megha.
This is very peaceful.
Indeed, it is. All right. Okay, then we have Anchala Jalan.
Oh, this is very nice. Looks very different actually.
Yes.
Very well made.
Priyanka Junjunwala.
Oh wow, that is beautiful. She must have invested a lot of time in this.
Yes. Bhakti Ullal. I think this is some kind of a craft work too.
It looks like a craft work. Yeah, it looks like a 3D painting, right?
Yes, it is very, very amazing. Partha Pratim Ganguly.
This is also beautiful. It's this printed stuff, right? Like you see in those olden times printed
Yes, yes,
pictures.
yes. Engraved.
Very nice.
Adarsh Pratap. This is something amazing.
This is very,
It's a mandala art.
but quite modern with modernistic touch, right? She
Yes.
has used pen also, I think so. So pen and colors both. Very nice. Very
Mixed
different
media.
approach.
Suditi Khan.
Wow. This looks like oil painting. I may be mistaken though. Maybe oil pastels also, but it's very nicely made. So all these are submissions, ma'am.
Yes, these are submissions. We have Garima Dhanawat.
Wow, that is also nice. Pen work. It's,
Something like
sorry.
what Mintu sir shared with us yesterday.
This is also nice. What about the next one, ma'am?
And then this is the last one, Somnath Hakapaki.
She has made an actual engine. Wow,
Yes, we
that's
have
nice.
to appreciate this. This is a very nice model.
It's a very nice model.
Yes,
It's quite
yes,
lifelike actually.
yes, it is. Like It's very nice. Vocal for local, as they say. All right, so those were the paintings.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
All right, so it was amazing, amazing artwork. Like I said, that none of the artwork will be wasted. We will be using all the artwork that we have got in some way or the other, and we will be sharing your work whenever we post them. So, like I said, that you will be getting a 50% flat off on the course. So, the payment link has been shared in the WhatsApp group, and enroll yourself by today. It's just a 2 months course, and you will be getting a certificate. So, please don't waste it. Enroll yourself by midnight. All the attendees will be getting a certificate and a 50% off if you join the course. So hope to see many of you joining the course, and we will be sharing some good stuffs when you join the course with us. So we hope to see many of you. All right. So thank you again, once again, for joining this art workshop day 1 and day 2. It was lovely having all of you, and we thank all of you for spending your weekend with us, and it was lovely to have all of you. So signing off, I hope to see many of you joining our course, and we hope to have a good time ahead from here. Thank you.